So good afternoon. So now today we are going to discuss about hardware programs. So but when you start discussing about the hardware programs, if you do it in real time only, you will understand the programs. But if you are doing through virtual mode, you won't understand. So I think maybe in another 14 or 1 or 2 weeks, they may call you for the lab to do the hardware programs. So you can have that one. So by the time I will explain how we have to work with respect to the hardware programs. Okay. So if you take the part of your syllabus of the hardware programs, so these are some of the programs which you are going to have. Okay. So in the part B, according to your syllabus, you are going to conduct the following experiments using either it may be through ARM7 TDMI or it may be LPC2148 evaluation board. Okay, the program which you are going to write in this one for this particular board to be executed is using embedded C. And the compiler which you are going to use is Keel Microvision 4 tool. Okay, so whatever the program you are going to write, so that will be written with respect to the embedded C programming. So for that one, you should have some basic knowledge about the C programming, embedded C. So that particular part, I'm going to cover it tomorrow. What part of your embedded C is required for you to uh, understand your hardware part of the program. Okay. So just I'm going to list out today the brief about what are the programs which are there, and I'm going to tell you that what are the different hardware components which are there and how we have to make use of that one. So some of you already discussed, some of them I have discussed in your regular theory class only. So now we are going to discuss with respect to the syllabus wise. Okay. So next, the first program which you are going to have is display Harvard message using Intel UART. So your UART stands for Universal Asynchronous Receive Transmitter. So that is as part of your module 2. So that I am going to cover it tomorrow. Okay, so UART I'm going to explain it tomorrow how it is going to work and all. So and the 10th program using that particular asynchronous receive transmission, so you are going to send the data and receive the data. So here using that particular data, you are going to transmit through that particular hardware, and whatever the message you are going to get, that particular message will be displayed on the computer. Okay, so the message what you are going to type, that will be gone through the hardware and it will be displayed on the PC. So that's what how the communication will be done in your UART, that is Universal Asynchronous Receive Transmission. So the next program which you are going to have is interfacing and controlling a DC motor. So you are going to have the DC motor. So with the help of the program, you are going to control the DC motor. So either you can control the speed of the DC motor, how much step it has to rotate. So depending upon the step size, that particular motor has to rotate in a particular direction. So the next program which you are going to have in your lab is interfacing a stepper motor. Okay, and rotate it in either in the clockwise direction or anti-clockwise direction. So here we are going to interface a stepper motor, and we are going to rotate it either in the clockwise direction or in the anti-clockwise direction. So the now fourth one is determining a digital output. Okay, digital output for a given analog input. Okay, so we are going to give the analog input through the potentiometer. So in the potentiometer, we are going to give the input. Okay, so if you are going to give the potentiometer through the input to the potentiometer, the voltage will be varied. Okay, so the input if you are giving means what? So the voltage can be varied by using the potentiometer. So potentiometer is nothing but what? Potentiometer is nothing but the resistor. Okay, so the potentiometer is nothing but the resistor. So if you vary if you people vary the value of the resistor, automatically what will happen? Automatically the voltage which will be appearing at the output will also get varied. So that is what the observation what you are going to do in your 12th experiment. So you're going to determine the digital output. Okay, so for a given analog input using internal analog to digital controller of ARM controller. Okay, so and the fifth program which you're going to have is to interface a DAC, that is a digital to analog converter. So you are going to have the digital to analog converter, and you are going to generate the triangular and square waveforms. Okay, so with the help of the DAC, that is digital to analog converter. DAC stands for digital to analog converter. So using that particular DAC, we are going to generate the triangular and square waveforms. So now in the sixth program, what we are going to have is, so you are going to interface a 4x4 keyboard. So that I have been already discussed in your theory part. So once again, I will explain that one, how it will be recognized and how we are going to scan that particular key along the row direction or along the column direction, how we are going to access that particular key. After accessing that particular key, how it is going to sense that particular key, and after sensing that particular key, how it is going to be displayed, what key you have been pressed. So that will be determined by your 4x4 keyboard, and it is going to display on your LCD screen. That is, you are going to have the liquid crystal display. So that on that particular liquid crystal display, it is going to display that which key you have been pressed. Okay, so that is the interface which you are going to have. So the next program, that is your 15th program, which you are going to have is, you have to demonstrate the use of external input interrupt to toggle an LED on and off. So you are going to have the external input. So whenever the external input is coming, so it is going to interrupt, the external interrupt is coming. After interrupting is came, so it is going to toggle the LED. So either the LED will be toggled with respect to on or off. Okay, so that is what you are going to have. So next is, we are going to display the hexadigit that I have been explained in the class already, how to refer that particular alphanumeric character, right? So if you are using the common anode type of LED, how we have to represent the hexadecimal equivalent for that particular number to be displayed. If you are using the common cathode type, how we have to represent the hexadecimal value to display that particular number. So that have been discussed already. The same thing here also we have to apply it here. So we are going to apply onto the experiment. So with that particular experiment, you are going to display the 7 segment LED interface. So using LED interface, you are going to display from 0 to A. So we know that for 0 to A, you are going to have the hexadecimal code to be generated. So that particular code has to be sent to the LED interface. So when that particular code is sent to LED interface, the interface, what it will do, the interface is going to convert that particular hexadecimal code, and it will send that particular to the particular segment to turn it on. The particular segment which it is going to be turn it on depends upon the type of the key or type of the code which you have been entered. So it depends upon the type of the code which you have been entered. So these are the some of the programs which you are going to have in your lab part. Okay. So next, coming to the basics of your LPC 2148. So just I am going with, because the program which you are going to use in your lab is LPC 2148. So whenever you are starting with your any processor, so whenever you are going to start with any of the processor to learn, so every processor will be having every processor or controller. If you take any processor or controller, okay, so either processor or controller, it will be having its own data sheet or data manual, it will be there. So first I should study the data sheet. What is, how that particular, in the data sheet they are going to specify that what is the architecture of that particular processor, what is the pin configuration of that particular processor, and they are going to specify that at what temperature that particular processor is going to work effectively. So that they are going to specify there, and it is going to specify that what are the different interfacing units that processor can interface. Okay, so that they will specify there in your manual, that is in your LPC 2148 data sheet manual. So that they are going to call it as a manual. So in that particular manual, they are going to specify how we have to make use of this particular processor. So now when it comes to the LPC 2148, so this is based on what? This is similar to your, either it may be a 16-bit or 32-bit ARM7 TDMI family. So just I am going through the basics of your LPC 2148. So here all these flavors, that is either it may be a LPC 2148. So you can see it here. So either it may be LPC 2141, it may be there, or it may be 2142, it may be there, or it may be 2144, it may be there, or 2146, it may be there, or 2148, it may be there. All will be having the same functionality. Almost 90% of the time it is going to have the same functionality. Only 10% is going to differ with respect to the interfacing what they are going to do. Okay, so this particular microcontroller, which is LPC 2148, so it is basically based upon 16-bit or 32-bit ARM7 TDMI. Okay, IS CPU. So it's basically based on the 16-bit, 16-bit or 32-bit ARM7 TDMI as CPU with real-time emulation. So it's going to provide you the real-time emulation support, and it's going to give you the embedded trace support. Okay, so whatever the trace support you are going to get. So now, whenever you are going to have that particular support will be combining with the microcontroller. With, hello, so is audio switched on? Can.
Sir, not audible. Excuse me, sir. Not audible.
So now here, what will happen? So it's going to, basically, it is going to have the 128-bit wide memory interface. So it's going to basically, it is going to have the 128-bit wide memory interface, which will be accelerated architecture enable 32-bit code execution at the maximum clock rate. So that means what? So if we have the maximum clock rate, okay, so the maximum clock rate, whatever the processor is having, so if you are having that particular maximum clock rate, so it is going to accelerate and it can work up to what? It can work up to 28-bit wide memory interface it is going to provide. So wide means wide interface is telling that what? So you can send 128-bit of data simultaneously. So now if you have this particular critical code size applications, sometimes you are going to have the code which will be having the which will have sensitive and it is critical. So when you are going to have the memory size into consideration, I want to reduce the size of the code. So if you are reducing the, if you want to reduce the size of the code, what I have to do? So I have to make use of the thumb instruction. Okay, so I have to make use of the thumb instruction. So I am going to transfer your ARM instruction set to thumb instruction set. You are going to have the ARM instruction set. In the ARM instruction set, it is going to support the 32-bit ARM instruction which you are going to have. So if you are going to have the 32-bit ARM instruction, it cannot support that one. Okay, so in that particular mode, it is going to reduce the code by more. If you do that particular code, the same code, if you're writing in 16-bit thumb mode, so the size of the code will be reduced by 30%. Okay, so 30% of the code it is going to reduce code size. Code size it is going to reduce by 30%, and even the performance is going to reduce, but that much performance won't be reduced. So whatever the performance it is going to be reduced, it is a minimum performance penalty. So whatever the minimum performance penalty you're going to have, so that will be having that particular penalty. So it is going to reduce with having the minimum performance penalty. So now, whenever you are going with LPC 2148, so it is going to have low size, tiny size and low power consumption. It is going to execute, it is a small, compact, and it is going to have the low power consumption. So it is compact and low power consumption. So for that particular reason, where your LPC 2148 can be used is, it is mainly used where the miniaturization is a key requirement. So that means if you reduce the product, so when you are building a embedded product, if your compactness is required, so wherever the compactness is required or miniaturization is required, these are key requirement. So where you can fit that particular application inside that particular microcontroller, you can use this particular microcontroller, which is LPC 2148. So where that is going to be used, so it can be used in access control, or it may be used in the point of scale operations. So now apart from this one, so you're going to have the serial communication interfaces. Okay. So you're going to have, it is going to be used in serial communication interface. Serial communication interfaces, it is going to use ranging from USB 2.0. Okay. So in USB 2.0, it is going to be used full speed devices, it is going to be used, and multiple UARTs. So when you want to communicate between multiple universal asynchronous transmission, if you want to do, so there is multiple universal asynchronous receive transmit. Okay, asynchronous receive transmit, which you are going to have. Okay, so it is going to have this one. So next, the serial peripheral interface is going to have, so SSPs, it is going to be used, and inter-integrated circuit bus, it is going to be used, and you are going to make use of the on-chip SRAM. So it's going to have the on-chip SRAM of 8 kilobytes, and it can support up to 40 kilobytes. So now, by having the interfacing of all these things, so it is telling that it can be interfaced through USB, or you can use through full speed duplex device. It is going to have 2-second one. So when you want to connect multiple UARTs, it can be used, or serial peripheral interface, it is going to be used, and SSP, it is going to be used. So next, I2C bus, it can be used, and on-chip RAM, SRAM, it can be used, and on-chip SRAM, whatever it is going to have. So it is going to have the size of up to 8 kilobytes to 40 kilobytes. So even that speed is more than enough to run your embedded system. Because when you talk about the embedded system, your embedded system is what? It's application specific. So you are going to design the embedded system for a specific application, right? For a specific task to be accomplished, you are going to make use of the embedded system. So when you are going to have this one, so it will make this LPC 2148 to be well suited for communication gateways and protocol. So it is mainly used in what? So it's suitable for communication gateways and protocols. Protocol converters, it may be used. Then it is going to be used in soft modems. So where the modem stands for modulator and demodulator. So they can use this particular microcontroller in your modem, and they are going to make use of voice recognition system, and your low-end imaging system, it can be used. So it is how it will be using your low-end imaging system by providing the large scale buffer size. So you're going to have the large scale buffer size. So if you have the large scale buffer size, what it means, buffer is nothing but what? It's an empty space which is required to execute an application. Okay, so when you want to execute that particular application using that particular buffer space, it's going to work with high processing power. So apart from this one, you're going to have various 32-bit timers are there inside your LPC 2148. So it is going to have the single or dual 10-bit analog to digital converter is there, 10-bit analog to digital converter, 10-bit DAC is there. 10-bit DAC stands for digital to analog converter. This is analog to digital converter, where ADC stands for analog to digital converter. So DAC stands for digital to analog converter. Both are of dual 10-bit, or both are of single or dual channel, what they are going to have. So next is your PWM channels, that is pulse width modulation channels. So apart from this one, it is going to have 45 fast GPIO lines, general purpose IO lines, so with 9 edges. and sensitive external input pins will be there, which will be responding to the external inputs which is going to have. So by having all these functionalities, it will make these microcontrollers suitable for industrial control. Okay, so with all these functionalities, which is where it is going to have or where it is going to provide, so this particular microcontroller is suitable for industrial control and medical system. So when you talk about the industrial control, it is going to be made used in routers. It may be used in your as they are told, it is used in modem, or it may be used in medical system. It is for imaging process, MRI scanning. It may be used. So, or it may be used in low-end imaging processing where it is required. It may be using that particular thing. So now, apart from this, what are the different key features which you are going to have in your ARM microcontroller? So it is nothing but what the key feature is. What is it? 32-bit ARM 70 DMI. So depending upon the type of the instruction set which you are going to have. So when you are going to have the 16-bit instruction set, within which mode your ARM will be working? Can anyone tell the answer? If it is a 16-bit, in which mode your ARM instruction set will be working? It will be working in thumb mode. Whereas in your 32-bit, it will be working in your ARM mode. Okay, so that will be coming in dual line FP64 in package. Okay, so that is going to have the 64 package. It's going to have quad. So that is going to have the quad package. All the pins will be connected to all the sides. Okay, so like this it will be connected. So as we have already seen that it will be having the in-system programming or application specific programming via on-chip bootloader. So it is going to have the on-chip bootloader. So that is on-chip bootloader software will be there, which will load. It will start initializing your hardware from the beginning. So similarly, that one, whenever the application is required, for example, I have the hardware and I have the microcontroller. So if I embed that particular microcontroller with one application, so next question comes to my mind that whether I am going to make use of the same microcontroller for other application or not. Yes, you can use it. So only thing is what you have to do, you have to erase the program which is already been programmed into that particular microcontroller, so that you can observe when your lab starts. So all these procedures you are going to do it in your lab. Okay, so in the lab you are going to learn everything. So once you come to the lab and if you start doing the hardware program, you are going to learn all these things. So you are going to have the single flash sector or full chip erase. So you're going to have the full chip erase that will be erased within 400 milliseconds. So all the applications which has been inserted into your microcontroller, that will be totally erased using your flash magic. So where the erase command will be there inside that one. Using that particular erase command, you are going to erase entire application. Entire application will be erased within 400 milliseconds, and programming of 256 bytes in 1 second. So if you are going to have the application which is having 256 bytes of application, so that particular applications can be programmed in 1 millisecond. So if you take the same way, if you take the 512 bytes of programming, it takes 2 milliseconds. Similarly, if you are going to have 1024 bytes, that means it is 1 byte, 1 kilobyte. Okay, if you attach 1 kilobyte, it's going to take 4 milliseconds to program it. So that particular process is called as programming. What is the process of programming is called as? The process of programming is nothing but what? You are going to create the exa file in your PC. After generating the exa file will be transferred to the hardware. So when you are transferring your exa file to the hardware, then that particular process is called as programming. So when you go to the company, the same process is called as burning. Okay, so here we are going to call it as we are programming the controller. So programming the controller here we are calling. But when you go to the company, the same concept they are going to call it by burning. So that is a burner will be there. So that particular burning. So that is nothing but you are going to port the hexadecimal code into the hardware. So this you are going to do. So now here you are going to have the embedded ICE. So the embedded ICE RT and embedded trace interfaces which are there. So that will offer the real-time debugging of your software. That means if anything goes wrong, when you are working with respect to the application, if anything goes wrong, So how I have to detect that where that particular hardware has gone encountered the wrong data, so that I can figure it out. So how I can figure it out? I can figure it out by using the debugging code. So by using the debugging on real chip monitor software, so I can trace that particular code where that particular code has went wrong. What part of the code has went wrong, I can check and I can make use of that one. So here next, when you are going to have the USB 2.0, so your USB 2.0 is a full speed complete device controller. So all of you are using your USB 2.0 in your home for other purpose. Okay. So the same thing it may be used here also. For what purpose they are going to use? They are going to make use for the device controller. So with 2 kilobytes of endpoint RAM will be there. So in addition to this, so your LPC 2148, what it is going to provide is, it is going to provide a 8 KB of on-chip RAM. So your LPC 2148 is going to provide you the 8 kilobytes of on-chip RAM, which will be accessible by USB by DMA. So whereas your DMA stands for direct memory access. So direct memory access means what? So whenever a processor requests a data, so the processor is going to access the data directly from the memory. So that means when you are using the DMA, so that retrieve the data from the memory will become faster if you are using the DMA controller. So that particular controller you are going to use, and using the USB you are going to access that particular data. So even though the USB is a serial bus, it's going to make use of that one. So now another is 1 or 2 10-bit DACs will be there. So if you are going to have this one, so you're going to have the 1 or 10-bit analog to digital converters will be there, which will be total of 6 bar 4 bar analog inputs. So either it may be having the six analog inputs, or it may be having the 2.44 microsecond 2.44 microsecond, convert times low as 2.54 microseconds. Okay, so these are some of the features. Another feature is it's going to have the single 10-bit DAC provides. So it is going to have the single 10-bit digital to analog converter. So where the DAC stands for digital to analog converter. So here in that single 10-bit DAC, it is going to provide variable analog output. So it's going to provide you the variable analog output. So it is going to have the timer inside your controller, that is 2-bit timer. So which will be used to check for event contours. So it will be mainly used for the external event counters. So that means when some counter has to be started. So yesterday we have discussed with your seatbelt warning system, right? So when you want to design that particular type of embedded system, I want to have the event counter. So for how many seconds that particular event has to be run. So in that particular type of applications, you require the timer, and you should require the event counter. So for some of the applications, you are going to make use of the event counter. So it is going to have what? It's going to have the 4 capture and 4 compare channels. So basically this particular timer which you are going to have, so that will be having 4 capture and 4 compare channels which you are going to have. And if you take the LPC 2148, that's a 32 kilohertz clock input. So if you take the LPC 2148, so as the name, it's a independent power with independent power. So independent power means what? You have to give the power externally. Okay, so it is not inbuilt. The power is not battery operated. It will be a through the AC means only. So it will be operating through AC means. So that's why it is called as independent power. And the frequency of your A2 LPC 2148 is 32 kilohertz. So 32 kilohertz of speed which you are going to have. So this is frequency. So if you're telling with respect to frequency, if I'm going with 1 by f, so that will be 1 by 32 into 10 raised to minus 3. Okay, or 1 by 32 millisecond. So millisecond 32 is in the sense it is 0.03, I think, right? So it is 0.03 millisecond. It is taking to execute a single instruction. To execute single instruction. So how much time it is going to take? So it is going to take 0.03 millisecond. So it's going to take 0.03 millisecond to execute a single instruction. So next is it is going to have the multiple serial interface, which is including two UARTs. So two UARTs it will be having. So which is 16C, which is 16C for 550. It will be having C interfaces. It is going to have two fast I2C bus. So I2 stands for inter-integrated circuit. So I2C is nothing but what? So single master, multiple slave, which is going to get connected. So where it is going to transfer the data at the rate of 400 kilobits per second. So it is going to have faster SAC bus and SPI and SSP with buffering and variable data length capabilities it's going to provide. So next it is going to have the vector interrupt controller. So that we have discussed in your module 2. So that is vector interrupt controller which you are going to have. So it is going vector interrupt means what? In each address. So you're going to have some interrupts will be there, right? So if you recall that one, you can have this one. Like abort will be there. So whether the user mode, some mode of operation will be there. So which mode it has to work. So that is going to be configured. So your vector interrupt controller is going to be configuring the priorities and the addresses of the vector which you are going to have. So it will be having up to 45 to 5 volts tolerant fast general purpose IO pins with a tiny FAT package 64 FAT 64 package, and it will be having a 24 external interrupt pins available. So what do you mean by external interrupt pins? External interrupt pins is nothing but what? The number of pins from which that particular microcontroller is going to accept the interrupt. So it can accept the number of total number of 21 interrupts from the externally. Okay. So it is going to have the 16 megahertz maximum CPU clock. Okay, so maximum CPU clock available from programmable on chip phase lock loop PLL. So here the PLL stands for phase lock loop. So I think if you have read your op-amp, so in your first year you may have heard of this particular term, phase lock loop. Okay, so with the settling time of 100 microseconds. So that means what? So whenever you are changing the cycles, so the processor, what it has to come? It has to come to one point. So that point which has to come from one place to another place. So it will take around 100 microseconds by oscillating. So it is which we have discussed in your ADE as in your this switch bouncing, right? So in the switch bouncing, what will happen when on to off? For example, I am telling. So in your switch bouncing, what will happen? So you are going to have the on to off, right? So when it is on to off condition, it is taking. So due to some of the limitation, how much time it will take to come to the off position? It will take some time if you are not using the debouncing circuit. So similarly here also it is going to have that particular type of problem. So where it is going to take up to 100 microseconds to settle to a final value. So it is going to have the oscillator which will operate with the external crystal from 1 megahertz to 25 megahertz. That means if you want to increase the speed, so on chip integrated oscillator which is there, so it operates with an external crystal. Okay, so that means external crystal should be there if you want to increase the performance of the system. If I want to increase the performance of the system, I'm going to make use of this particular crystal. So even this is going to provide you the power saving modes called idle and power down. So when you are going to have the idle down, idle thing, so when you are not working, when that particular embedded system is not working, so I should not consume the power. So what I will do, I will go to the idle state. So now next in the idle state, what will happen? It is going to consume less power. It is not processing now. When it's going to idle, it is not processing. Only if it is processing, you are going to consume the power. Okay, so that's why, for example, in your mobile devices, your mobile, way it is getting heated up, it is transmitting and receiving. So if it is transmitting and receiving, what is happening there? That processing is happening there. So if your processing is happening, obviously what will happen? Your system gets heated up. So that is why whenever you are switch on your internet in mobile devices, your device will get heated up quickly. For what reason? For this particular reason. Okay. So it is not it won't be the idle mode. So idle mode is not, if you have switched off your internet connection, either you are not going to get any message or you are not going to send any message. So now, even if you are not working with the mobile devices, if you are switched on your internet in your mobile, what will happen? Somebody will be sending some message to you through WhatsApp, or you may be sending some message through WhatsApp to some person. Okay, so when you are receiving the message means what? Your processing is coming. Whenever the processing comes, obviously the power comes into the picture. Okay, so that's what it is going to have. So it is going to have the feature of enabling or disabling the peripheral function. Okay, it is going to have the enabling and disabling the peripheral functions, as well as it is going to have the peripheral clock scaling for additional power optimization, which you are going to have. So it is going to have the power processor wake up from power down mode via external interrupt is also there. So is in the board. So next we talk about the block diagram. So till now we have seen only the features, what it is going to support, how it is going to support for different applications when you are using it. So this you have been used. So if you see the LPC2148 block diagram, how it will be done. So if you talk about the LPC2148 block diagram, so that block diagram of LPC248 will be like this. So if you take, so here LPC248, so it is going to be connected through the transmission from test TRST will be there here. Okay, TMS, TS. So this is test and debug interface which you are going to have here. So that is basically used for testing your hardware. When you are written the program and you are ported your EXA code, ported your EXA code to the hardware after doing it. So once you have done that one, so if you are, when you are testing, if the code is not worked properly, if your code is not worked properly, what will happen? So obviously, so it is not worked. So I have to test it. So doing the, I have to connect a cable through this particular interface. So and then I have to test the particular hardware, whether it is working or not. So through that particular interface. So you're going to have general purpose IO. So you're going to have totally your LPC 2148 will be having 32-bit IO port. So it's going to have the 32-bit IO port which you're going to have. So one is 2 ports, that is one is differentiated into what? 0 to 15 is one port we are going to have. So 0 to 15. Other is 16 to 31. So port 0 you are going to have from 0 to 15. Port 1 you are going to have from 16 to 51. Okay. So now here when you are going to have this one, so here it is connected through the ARM local bus, which you are going to have through the ARM local bus. So you are going to have the bus here, bus structure. So in this particular local bus, which you are going to have ARM7 local bus. So through that particular local bus, you are going to connect through what? Internal SRAM controller. Also, it is going to connect it. So you are going to connect through the internal flash control also. It will be connected here. Okay. So now when you are going to have this particular part, so how it will be connected? So when you are going to have the internal SRAM controller, so you are going to have the SRAM controller, right? So in the SRAM controller, which you are going to have, so you can see it here, the SRAM, that is static RAM, which you are going to have, the static RAM, which you are going to have here. So it's going to have the 8 kilobytes or 16 kilobytes or 30 kilobyte SRAM. So you are going to have here, it can support up to 8 kilobytes or it can support up to 16 kilobytes or it can support up to 32 kilobytes of SRAM. So next, when it comes to the flash controller, so if you take about the flash controller, so it is going to have the 32 kilobytes or 64 kilobytes or 128 kilobytes or 255 kilobytes or 512 kilobytes of flash memory. So that is the limited size of the code where that particular code will be residing. Okay, so that particular code you are going to have. So the code will be residing inside this particular memory, that is your flash memory. So where you are going to use this. So you are gone through the high performance bus and the peripheral bus through which you are going to connect it here. Okay, so you are going to have the ARM high performance bus where it is this particular bus which you are going to have. It is going to tell you that ARM is going to have the ARM high performance bus. Okay, so next it is going to have the ARM peripheral bus. Okay, ARM peripheral bus which you are going to have. So this you are going to have with respect to the divider. So it is going to provide it here. So and then ARM high performance decoder will be there here. So decoder, it is going to decode the programs. Okay. So next, when you are going to have the different interrupts. So these are the parts which you are going to use for your programming purpose. This is the part where you are going to make use of for your hardware programs. Part. Okay. This particular part you are going to make use when you are writing the program. So here, when you are going to have this particular, you are going to have here A to D controllers will be there. Okay, so that is analog to digital converter is there, which is 0 and 1. So next, you are going to have A out. So you are going to have the A out here, 4. So it is going to, this particular converter, what you can see it here, it is connected through ARM high performance bus or ARM peripheral bus. That it will connect the peripherals. So these are the peripherals, right? So this particular interface are the peripherals where you are going to connect it. So through this particular through this particular interface, you are going to connect the pulse width modulation. Okay, so through this particular connection, you are going to connect from 1 to 38, and you are going to have port 0, 28 to 31 you are going to have, and port 0 to 28 you are going to have, and port 1 31 to 16 pins, port pins here it is going to have here. So it's going to have the port pins here. Okay, so it is going to have the general purpose IO which you are going to have here. Okay, next is your D to A converter. So it's going to have digital to converter. So digital to converter which you are going to. So next you are going to have the I2C bus serial interface 0 and 1. So I2C, so that is inter-integrated circuit which you have been studied already. So it is inter-integrated circuit which will be acting as one master, multiple slave. So one master, multiple slave can be connected here. Okay. So next you are going to have the SPI and SSP, that is serial peripheral interface. So this is serial peripheral interface which you are going to have, and you are going to have the SSP. Okay. So SPI and SSP you are going to make use of. Okay, so next you are going to make use of UART 0 and 2 UARTs you can connect. So it is going to be defined by, so UART 1 and UART 0, that is transmission D0 and transmission D1. So this is how, and it is going to have the real-time clock, and you have gone through the watchdog timer. So this is basically used for reset the hardware to its original. So it is going to be used to reset the hardware to its original state. So to its original state, it is going to reset it. It's going to make use of this one. Okay. So next, after having all these things, so if you are going with a pin number of your 88 LPC 2148 or LPC 2141, all the flavors. So if you take this one, this is the pin configuration of your LPC 2148. So this is a pin configuration which you are going to have. Okay, pin configuration of LPC 2148. So now in this particular pin configuration which you are going to have here, so what you are going to have, so you can see it here, it is going to divide into 2 ports. So it is going to have 2 ports, so referring as P0 and P1. So you can see it here, P0 17 pin, P0 16 pin, P0 15 pin, P1 21 pin. So your pin number 43, 44. So total number of pins for here is 64. Okay, so it is a quad package. Okay, so since it is having the pins on all the direction, okay, as you have seen that, so you're going to have the dual line package. So in the dual line package, what will happen? The pins will be only on the 2 sides. The pins will be in 2 sides. Okay, so pins will be in 2 sides. Whereas in your quad line package, so if you take the quad line package, so the pins will be in 4 sides. Okay, so the pins will be in 4 sides. So you are going to have 2 ports here. So one is port 0 and port 1. So both the port is of 32-bit. So both the port is of 32-bit. So only some of the ports it is going to use for some selective purpose. Okay. So you can see it here. So if you have P0 012, so P0 10, so it's going to have serial data transmission for some operation is going to be used. So now you have to keep in your mind that the particular port is used for a particular purpose only. Okay, the particular port is used for particular purpose only. So it cannot be used for some other purpose. It cannot be used for some other purpose. So you're going to make use of, here you can see data transmit receive will be there. So ADI 1.0 you're going to have. So here DSR clear to send, pipe status, request to send, received transmission D1, transmission D1. So that I will explain in the next class when I am telling about the USBs. Okay, so that is when I am telling with respect to your UART. So you should know all these functions, right? So like RXD you should know. So and then you should know RXD, and you should know TXD. What do you mean by TXD? So that I am going to explain whenever you are going to start with the program. Universal asynchronous receive transmission. Universal asynchronous receive transmission. So this class I am going to give you just a brief about your processor. That's it. So what are the pin configurations? How to use those pin configurations? What are the different functionality your pin will be having? Those brief functionalities I am going to provide today. That's it. So apart from this one, if you take with respect to architecture view of your ARM7 so it's basically a general purpose 32-bit microprocessor. As it is told that. So as we already know, we have gone through the basics already. The same thing I'm going to repeat it once again. That's it, nothing else. So your ARM7 TDMI is nothing but what? It's a general purpose 32-bit microprocessor. So what it is capable of? It is capable of giving high performance with low power consumption. So it's going to power you up to high performance. It's going to have the high performance. It's going to have. So next, with high performance, it is going to have the very low power consumption. So very low power consumption will be there. So with respect to high performance, which you are going to have. So basically, if you take the ARM architecture, it is going to be making use of risk principles. It's work on the risk principles. If you start talking about the risk, what is the risk? So normally risk will execute all this instruction in single clock cycle. So that is the advantage of having the risk. Even though one instruction is taking its completion to complete in 3 cycles or 5 stages, say 5 cycles or 6 cycles, depending upon the type of the ARM processor which you are using. So, but if you are doing the pipelining, what will happen? By doing the pipelining, you are going to execute a single instruction in a single clock cycle. So that's what it tells. So it based on what principles? It is going to be based on the risk principles. So here the instruction set and the related decode mechanism. So in the related decode mechanism are much simpler than complex instant computers. There is much simpler than the CISC architecture. There is your complex instruction set computers. So here, whatever the instructions are there here, so that will be the throughput of this particular instruction. The simplicity results in high instruction throughput. Here it is going to relate to the high instruction throughput and impressive real-time interrupt response. Real-time response will be there, and small and cost-effective processor core you are going to make use of here. Okay. So then the pipeline techniques are there, so which are employed so that all parts of the processing and memory system can operate continuously. Okay. So as I told you in the previous class, so all parts of the processing and memory systems can execute concurrently, that is continuously. So with one instruction is being executed, the other instructions, what it is going to do, the other instruction is being decoded. So the instruction being decoded, one instruction is fetching, other will be decoding, the third will be executing. So that is how that particular instruction is going to work. So that is what we have already discussed, that it is a fetch, decode, execute. So this is running in parallel. It is maybe in clock cycle 1, clock cycle 2, clock cycle 8. So in the first cycle it may be fetch, second cycle it may be decode, third cycle it may be execute. So that will be executing in parallel. Okay. So now if we take the ARM7 TDMI, yes. So that particular processor also employs a unique architecture strategy. Okay. So that is known as thumb instruction set. So already we know what you mean by thumb instruction set. So in the thumb instruction set, what is happening? It is basically ideally suited to high volume applications. So your thumb instruction set which you would have, it is basically suited for high volume applications with some of the memory restrictions. Or where you are going to have the applications where pulse density is an issue. So what do you mean by code density? Code density is when your code is become more. When code becomes more, so you're going to have the density code becomes more. The density of the code will become more. So when the density becomes more, the performance is a major issue. Okay, the performance will be major issue there. The performance is the major issue which you are going to have. Okay, that you have to keep in your mind. So next, when you are going to have, so the ARM instruction, thumb instruction set, if you see it here, it supports two different types of instruction set. One is your standard ARM instruction set, other is your 16-bit thumb instruction set. So if you take the thumb sets 16-bit instruction length, so it allows twice the density of the standard ARM code. As I told you that you are there 16-bit and 32-bit. So it is twice. So 16 twos are 32. So that's why it is going to tell you that it is going to approach the twice the density of the ARM code. So it is twice the density of the ARM code which is going to have. So but most of, as we have discussed already, that the most of the ARM's performance advantage, it is going to be taken over. So ARM performance advantage is taken over by traditional 16-bit processor using 16-bit registers. Is going to be taken by the 16-bit processor which using 16-bit register. So this particular register is going to be possible because the thumb code operates on the same 32-bit register set as ARM code. So you are going to have the register right in ARM, which is of 32-bit. So if you are running your thumb, the thumb is going to make use of only 16-bit. So, but whatever the thumb instruction it is going to use, so it is going to make use of the same 16-bit register, same 32-bit register which is available here. Okay, so that is how it will be connected. So now the thumb code is able to provide you the 60%, 65% of the code size here. So it's going to provide you the 65% of the code size of the ARM, and almost it's going to provide you the 160% of the performance of the equivalent ARM processor when it is connected to the 16-bit memory system. Okay, so when you are running with the thumb code, it is going to reduce the code size by 65%, and obviously it is going to increase the performance by 160% of the performance is increased. So that is 1.6 what we can tell. So 160% is 160%, 1.6 times what we can tell. Okay, so it is 1.6 times of the regular ARM processor that is working in ARM mode. Okay, ARM processor is going to be worked, and it is connected to the 16-bit memory system, and it is connected to the 16-bit memory system. Okay, so it's going to have. So this is some of the it is going to have the on-chip flash memory. So the on-chip memory which it can support is up to 32 kilobytes. Okay, so and 64 kilobytes of on-chip flash memory is there. 128 kilobytes, 256 kilobytes, and 512 kilobytes of flash memory is there. So why this particular flash memory is used? To program, to store the application. A flash memory used to store the application which you have to run, because if you want to build some embedded system is what it has to do some work. So where you are going to store that particular program which is intended to do that one, that I am going to store inside your flash memory. So the your flash memory is basically incorporating your 32 kilobytes, 64 kilobytes, and 128 kilobytes of flash memory which you are going to have. So now here, when you are going to have this one, this particular memory which you are going to have, so it is going to be mainly That is audible. Hello.